This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome into the Monday Mashup, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Kevin, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Slow week.
We've got some fucking weather coming.
Yeah, I'm both looking forward to it and dreading it at the same time.
Well, and the reason that we're probably looking forward to it is that, one, you go to the school that I work at, and we're both just hopeful. I'm sure a lot of people the same way. Just looking forward to a week where, like, maybe they won't have school.
High school kids are already getting school canceled, and they're probably rejoicing. I mean, I know if I were in high school, I'd be rejoicing.
We're doing this, it's 9:30 Sunday night, and I already looked, and there's like 172 some odd school closings already.
Wild.
And it's like, the snow doesn't even start until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
No.
But I have a feeling, well, most people are listening to this, they're going to be like battling being snowed in or fighting negative 10-degree temperatures. Like, Wednesday's highs are insane. Have you seen Wednesday's highs?
-2? -3 or -2?
Yeah, last I saw was -3.
Jesus.
It was going to be the high.
It's not a day to shovel snow.
Oh, hell no. Dude, that's a day where, like, I was seeing, like, -50 on the wind chill. That's a day where you just keep your ass inside.
Like, -50? That, like, it doesn't register with me right away. I had to think about it for a second.
Like, you thinking, I'm like,
-50? What?
That's a number that doesn't even make sense.
No.
All right, did you Defiance College? I just noticed this. You're wearing this hoodie.
Yes.
Did you go there and play baseball?
I did.
What? All right, I went to a game. I had never heard of Defiance College, so I went to a game at Oakland this year, and they played Defiance.
They play them
It was
every year in
the
the preseason.
first time that I had ever heard of Defiance College.
They played them when I was there, too, yeah.
and they beat the shit out of Defiance.
I mean, it's Division III school in Northwest Ohio. They're not supposed to be able to compete with, what are they now, the Summit League? What are they called now?
Horizon.
Are they
Yeah.
Horizon League? Yeah, Horizon League. Whatever Oakland's in. It's a very small school, about 1,100 on a good day.
Based on what I saw on their basketball team, that sounds about right. I think there was one kid that was taller than 6'1".
They had some tall ones when I was there. I think they had a few guys. A pretty good point guard. Can't remember his name. But
Oh, well.
yeah,
I couldn't tell you a single name of the... I couldn't tell you.
We weren't very good at baseball. I think we were 6-31 my freshman year.
All right, so that sounds like my high school team. Yeah. We were not great at all.
My ERA was somewhere around 9.
Ooh. So
I was a reliever, so it's inflated.
Okay, that's fair. I was going to say, Jesus, if you're a starter,
no,
you sound like you could play for the Tigers, though.
I think I could.
The rate they're going. We got a lot to get to. We've got to do football talk because we put it off last week. We did our NBA show last week, which of
Can't
course
wait till we get to more of those.
Yeah, me too. But we have NBA power rankings at the end of this episode, and leading into that, we have to do a little bit of recap for last week's championship games,
right?
Because we didn't talk about them at all, and we got to do Super Bowl. And what I kind of want to do for Super Bowl, because it's my first time ever doing Super Bowl on the Monday Mashup, ever doing Super Bowl on Detroit Sports Podcast.
Ditto.
I want to I texted you earlier, and I said, "Are you a betting man?" And you said, "I'm a degenerate gambler." And it was the best thing I ever heard.
I wear it proudly.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that's, like, I want the listeners to know that. I want the listeners to know that I bet my ass off. Yeah. And
the reason I watch 6 games every night is because I'm very into those games.
Yeah, it's helpful. Like, for doing this show, it's helpful to bet on some of these games because it makes watching them a lot more entertaining.
Sometimes you need to be invested.
Hey, and for the most part, I do pretty well. I don't always win, but more often than not.
I can't watch a Wednesday night in February when the Suns are playing the Grizzlies and think, I have to watch it. Like, there's got to be a reason I tune in. Like,
I can hate watch the Pistons at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I can just watch the Pistons.
I can't watch, like, Phoenix, Memphis. I can't watch, like, there's like, I'm not watching Cavs Magic. Like, I'm not, there's games where I look at it and I'm like, I can't do this. And then I'm like, well, maybe if I bet on them a little bit.
Exactly. Give me a little taste. I need a little action.
So the way I want to do the Super Bowl is through the lens of some of the cool prop bets, some of the easy bets, like, winner.
In general, I mean, how many billions of people watch a Super Bowl? Like, that's probably why the majority of, like, it's not like
there's the percent that
like, oh, I hope the Patriots win. It's like, no, I just want them to cover.
Right. And the Rams, we know, have no fans to begin with.
Right.
So you have, like, people who hate watch the Patriots, the very few Rams fans, Patriots fans, and then people who gamble, and then people who want to just watch commercials.
I forget about the commercials.
I don't give a shit about the commercials.
I don't.
There's so much excitement. I feel like they've also been bad the past few years, but
I can't remember a single one from last year off the top of my head.
No, I can't either. I think they sucked last year,
probably,
but I really couldn't tell you because I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I want to look at the betting lines, some of the prop bets, break down the game a little bit, and kind of look at it that way. But where I want to start is with championship weekend recap, and we have to talk about the call. We have to talk about the pass interference that we never got a chance to talk about. And if you're a Saints fan listening to this podcast, and I know that's probably not, the odds of that are astronomical, but like if the Saints are your second favorite team and you've spent the last week crying about a pass interference call that wasn't, just please, for the sake of all of us, shut the fuck up.
I just want to make it very clear, very, very clear, abundantly clear, that I have absolutely no sympathy for you whatsoever.
Lions fans, like, I don't think give a shit.
Don't care at all.
I don't think they want to hear it. Two, dude, like, here's an idea. Like, if you want to whine about a pass interference call, maybe score more than 6 points in your first 2 red zone possessions.
I mean, you can just look at Drew Brees for like the most of that game and be like, ooh.
Maybe
that guy was the MVP?
Yeah,
ooh.
Maybe don't make a god-awful throw to Michael Thomas the play before.
I mean, a variety of things. Like, was it a pass interference call? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Like, I have no problem admitting that, obviously.
No problem.
Was it helmet to helmet? Yeah, he got fined for it, so clearly it was.
Should it have been a call, and should the Saints be in the Super Bowl? Yes, but anytime that you let officiating decide the outcome of a game, you didn't play well enough to win that game.
I read an article this morning that said there were people legitimately concerned over the fact that 4 of the officials are from Southern California.
And it just, again, I'm like, I saw the same headline.
The Rams have been there for like 2 years.
I saw the same headline, and I was just like absolutely mind blown. Where it was like,
you're a lifelong Rams fan.
The NFL, I think the quote was, the NFL called Sean Payton or whoever, and they were like, "Yeah, we fucked up with the call." And then there were people that were like, "We're really concerned that so many of the officials were from Southern California." Dude, they're not. They're like maybe Chargers fans.
I can't wait for
like
Ben Watson to write
fans.
Like a New York Times op-ed calling out Roger Goodell.
Or like Michael Thomas, who can't stop whining on Instagram. Dude, shut up.
Oh, God.
Like, if you want to look at somebody and put the burden of blame on them, look at your quarterback who missed you so bad on the play before.
And you know, so many things got changed because people whined on Instagram in the history of the world. Like, that's how things go about being changed when someone whines on social media.
It's a good way to get people to laugh at you.
Yeah, I laugh.
And that's like, and I feel for Saints fans to an extent, because like you lost on the Stephon Diggs catch a year ago.
Right.
And then you lost on this pass interference now. But like also,
I felt bad for them on the Diggs catch. Like, that's just a tough play. Like,
right.
Like,
and
that's tough.
You have
like,
a rookie DB who just missed the play, and it's like, damn, I really feel for that guy.
This one I don't feel bad.
But
like,
this
I
one,
don't.
yeah.
Like, oh, your guy blew a call? Like, welcome to being a Lions fan.
It's tough for me to drum up any sympathy for people who feel like they've been screwed by the league. Like,
oh, I don't have any sympathy for people being screwed by the league. I didn't have sympathy for Brady when he got suspended. Even if I thought, like, no way, shape, or form deserves a suspension, I don't have sympathy for you.
And that's where I was going to go with it, was I've seen Brady be screwed by the league. I've seen the Patriots get screwed out of draft picks by the league. You don't see me fucking crying because we overcame it. Like, it's not... Just fucking relax. Like, the fact that Saints fans are on Twitter or on wherever and they're like, we're going to sue the NFL for damages, or like, we need Roger Goodell to answer the phone to overturn this because we looked up some rule. I'm like, dude, shut up.
Like, I get it. It's the last time you're going to be there. You know you're probably not getting back. You know it's over with Breeze and Peyton. It's the last chance, and you feel like you had it robbed and taken away from you and whatever. That's
You mean
great.
Taysom Hill's not going to take him to the playoffs next year?
God, Taysom Hill might not take them out of their own anything, but I just don't have sympathy. Like, I don't. Like, I understand. You thought it looks like it's over now, but I'm sorry. Like, tough break. You got to the NFC Championship game. You got to host it.
And then they're like, I want everybody to feel like we've all been robbed because we should have had Brady Breeze. And I'm like, dude, I don't feel robbed at all. I feel like Patriots Rams
Brady Breeze would have turned into like Michelle, Burkhead, Ingram, Kamara so fast.
Exactly. And also, of the 2 quarterbacks in there, only one of them is playing good football right now, and it's not the maybe MVP.
Well, no, it's definitely
it's not Drew Brees.
It's not.
Dude, like, that's the other thing is they go, we have the MVP probably. And I'm like, well, 1, you don't. And 2, he hasn't played well in like a month and a half.
If he was the MVP at some point this season, and I'm not saying he was or wasn't, but if he was,
he's not now.
He's most certainly hasn't been.
He just the way that he played, and that it's the weirdest thing because we talk about this call so much, and even I'm like, we got to recap, and I'm like, we got to talk about this call. Why aren't we talking about how bad Drew Brees was, dude?
Because there was a call. We get bailed out. We just talk about the call.
Bad.
Yeah.
He got bailed out by having the game lose on a pass interference call, like a no call.
This is like part of why I thought he might win MVP. Is the same reason why nobody's coming out and saying he's so bad. The media loves that guy. Like,
dude,
they're not going to come out and shit on Drew Brees. It's not going to happen. That's why he might win the MVP because they love him. They vote for him.
How many throws did he miss? I mean,
I wasn't counting, but it was a lot.
He missed at least 3 touchdowns. Like at least
3. I can.
He missed one early
off the top of my head.
Yeah, and then there was like the final play to Michael Thomas when he badly threw that ball.
Yeah,
that's a touchdown, maybe. I mean, we're looking at.
I'm willing to go past maybe.
We're looking at a couple plays where it's just like, dude, a good throw and you've got a touchdown.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And it just he played bad, and no one wants to talk about it. And then you look at the other side of things on the AFC side, and which is like there's the roughing the passer call. There are calls in this game, D Ford lining up, where you would think people are talking about it, and they're just not. This is way better because
Max Kellerman is. Don't worry, Max Kellerman is talking about the D Ford lining up offsides play all the time. He sounds like Herman Boone screaming at the official. He's lining up offsides. He's lining up offsides. Like, yeah, I get it, Max. It's over though. The game's over. They won. Like. Just you're getting the very mention of the words Max Kellerman has sent you in to just an unbelievable rage, but it's like a subdued rage almost.
How does ESPN not fire that guy?
He probably has like a sizable buyout.
Like dude, I am so fucking serious.
I mean, we thought that about Skip for years. He's just a new Skip, right? Like,
no,
I gotta be honest. I've never watched an episode of First Take in my entire life. Hand to God, I've never once watched it. I've seen clips. Like, I've seen things pop up on Twitter, but I've never sat down and actually watched an episode of First Take. I despise that format because it's so fake.
Just, why do we have 2 grown men arguing about other grown men on live television? But I did.
PTI is like the highest rated show ever, so they just try to spin everything off.
And so I haven't really watched live episodes of First Take. I've mostly watched clips, but I did last week. I tuned in for a minute. And it wasn't to listen to Tom Brady. It was just, I wanted to listen to First Take for a minute and see what Kellerman was talking about. And the reason why was because Stephen A. got into a whole spat on Twitter with Derek Carr.
I saw something about it. I didn't follow it that closely, but I saw it.
Derek Carr, this to me, I've lost all respect that I ever had for Derek Carr.
Well, I know John Gruden's running around slapping Raiders stickers on quarterbacks' helmets at the Senior Bowl.
Good. And I know that like we're getting a little off the rails, but I have to talk about this because I've lost all respect I ever had for Derek Carr. He came out and he goes,
I don't know how much I had.
I hate First Take. I hate these shows where like Max Kellerman and Stephen A. I'd love to get into an octagon with them and fight them. They don't know anything. No, dude. And he goes, I want to get on the show. I want to talk football with them. I want to prove to people that they don't know anything about the game, that they're idiots, that they never bounced a ball. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
they probably don't even throw with the laces.
Calm the fuck down, though. Like, we get it. You're heated, but like, chill out. And Stephen A. comes out and he's like, he tags Derek Carr in a tweet and he's like, hey.
Oh, he'll go at people. Like, that's his job.
Yeah.
Like, that
and
drives ratings. Of course
like, Derek,
he will.
You got a problem? Come in the show. Like, come on the show. Join me. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's debate about it. And Derek Carr doesn't respond to the tweet, doesn't say anything. Yeah.
He's no Richard Sherman.
And so then Molly Curum at the end of the show, she goes, yeah, we reached out to Derek Carr, and Derek Carr said, no, he's not going to come on First Take. So Derek Carr came out.
This is my shocked face.
Yeah, Derek Carr came out and he goes, I want to go on First Take and I want to prove that those guys have no knowledge about anything. And then Derek Carr got an invitation to First Take, and Derek Carr said no.
Again, I'm shocked that a professional athlete came out and talked a big game and then decided, nah, I'm good.
It's like, oh my God, I want to do it until maybe these guys who I'm trying to slander that actually do know a little bit about the game because they've inundated themselves around it for the past however many years. Yeah, I don't really want him to break down my tape on live TV while I'm sitting across the table from him.
No. Or look at my stats or wonder if I'm playing up to my contract in front of my face. Or a variety of other things that are laughable about me because I'm Derek Carr.
Like, yeah, if you want to go at people, maybe be better than Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Okay. As much as I want to turn this into a slander Derek Carr podcast, we do have to get to the AFC Championship game again because this was like, it feels like as ridiculous as it is to say it, it was just another example of Tom Brady further cementing his legacy.
I mean, what we say like 2 weeks ago that if he wins this game, it'll be the most impressive AFC Championship win of his career.
And here we go. Yeah. And now, if you win this Super Bowl, is it the most impressive Super Bowl win of his career?
No. I mean, not even close for me.
Yeah, no, Atlanta.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you can't. I'm sorry, 28-3. Like, you just no. Unless he does something like he can't possibly do something like that. There's no way. Like
it's
again,
impossible.
like
no, it is impossible.
And I just don't think. I don't think they can get down 28-3 to this team.
He shouldn't have even been able to do that once.
No, of course not. Everything had to fall in so many right places.
But you're right. He shouldn't be able to go down 28-3 to this team. One thing about this Rams team, I don't think they're any good. Nobody wants to talk
I think
about it.
They're okay. Like they made it to the Super Bowl. I just think like the NFC probably. I didn't think anybody this year really stood out all that much, except for maybe the Rams and the Chiefs until they finally started losing.
Like there were teams that and there were teams that I got scared. Like the Saints it was a team I was scared of.
A bunch. The Texans rattled off a bunch at one time.
Yeah,
That's
and
AFC,
the Colts, but like I look back and I'm like, when it comes to the NFC, there were two teams all year.
Yeah,
it was the Saints and it was the Rams, and there was nobody else that was even close.
Like the Bears were that one that kind of like lingered around being in that, but they weren't.
Yeah, and
they
it
never really were.
Are we like the whole year? It was like, are we really going to put the Bears there?
No,
like,
just their defense. It was the defense. That's all it was.
And now I was dumb enough to put the Bears in the NFC Championship game, but
sure.
But I just thought like they had a shot to beat LA,
double doink, and they're
and still they maybe beat LA had that not happened.
Right.
But anyway, so I look at that and I'm like, I don't know that the NFC is nearly as good as the AFC was, and then I look at the Patriots and go, look, they just beat the best team that they're going to play all year.
That was the Super Bowl, like essentially, really. Those were the
doesn't
two
it
best
feel
teams.
like that?
Well, I don't know if they were the two best teams, but they were the best team and the Patriots. So it might as well have been the two best teams because you're always expecting the Patriots to be in that game.
That's a really good way of putting it. Because again, it's like the Rams should be here, right?
Right.
The Patriots should not be here.
Probably not, but they're the Patriots.
But
they're here.
It's the Patriots, and they're
no
here.
No one's shocked. Like this whole we're still here thing, like, yeah, no shit. You guys are always here.
It's and then it's like, we suck. We're not going to win any games. And it's like, nobody actually ever believed that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they came out and said it. Like,
it's that thing what they always do when the Warriors start to stumble, that it's Windhorst always being like, if you're selling your stock, I'm prepared to buy it. No one was selling Patriots stock. Like, they lost to the Lions in a nationally televised game, and nobody was like, oh, you know what? They're done. It's over for them.
It wasn't until after Pittsburgh where I was like, oh, this team really might kind of stink.
Right, but you weren't selling stock. You're like, I still bet, like, what's the thing you said? I hope the championship
I just hope that the Super Bowl hats aren't ugly
Yeah.
again. But it's like they lost to Pittsburgh, and I'm like, wow, this team might really suck. And then it's like, so do you think they're not going to make it to the AFC Championship game? And I was like, whoa.
Okay, yeah.
I said they might suck. They're still the Patriots.
Yeah,
chill out.
It's the same thing. And it's partly Brady, but it's partly the Patriots. Like, there's the same thing with LeBron. It's like the Lakers are 4 games out of a playoff spot or whatever. Like, okay, well, they're going to make the playoffs. They have LeBron. It's like with Brady. They can lose to Detroit. They're still going to get to the Super Bowl because Tom Brady's their quarterback.
That is the funniest thing, too, that they're talking about. Or can the Lakers make the playoffs? I'm like, dude, LeBron didn't die.
I just
he
find
is coming
NBA
back.
analogies to equate to for this football. All we're going to do is talk about football, and I'm going to find ways to relate it to basketball.
All right, so from a gambling perspective, because this is where I always go with the Super Bowl. I always have to bet on it. And it breaks my rule because I don't usually bet on teams that I'm a fan of. It's kind of like my one rule is...
That's fair. You don't need to be invested. You're already invested.
I don't want to have the financial loss as well as the emotional loss.
I could never bet on the Lions.
Exactly.
I
can't deal with the financial loss and the emotional loss in the same game. But prop bets are a little different.
Right.
Because I don't have to worry about it. And also, I might throw caution to the wind
prop
this year.
bets. We're going right back into NBA. I love NBA prop. But like when I can bet like, oh, Blake Griffin, 35 combined points, rebounds, assists. Yeah, I'll take the over. Like, I love those kind of prop bets. But
exactly.
Super Bowl has some amazing prop bets.
That's where I'm like, and I don't want to do the ones that are like the 50-50s, like the coin flip and like you said before we got on air, the national anthem over under.
If you've never bet the national anthem, just do it one time because it's electric. Like you can't miss it. You get make sure you don't miss it. But sit down on your couch before the start of the game, get your phone out, pull out the stopwatch app, set it off, and let Gladys Knight just absolutely blow your mind for possibly 1 minute and 43 seconds, maybe shorter, maybe longer. Who knows? That's the fun.
Yeah. And you might win some money.
Yeah. And again, Gladys Knight making you money.
It's a
Classic.
moment, and it's also a moment where I'm like, I'm not going to sit here as a gambler and like go, look, this is the way you should bet it, because I have no fucking clue how long Gladys Knight's going to sing
Always
the
hit
national
the
anthem
over.
for.
Like, if it's the national anthem, I'm taking the over.
That's like if I sat here and I was like, you should look at, I think this year you got to bet heads.
Gladys,
nobody fucking knows.
Gladys Knight is similar singing style to Aretha. Look back at her previous national anthems and see if she's like, yeah, well, no, who knows? You can't know.
I'm looking at, and I want to know how they figured this out. I'm looking at the coin toss odds on my bookie, and they're both heads is -102 and tails is -102.
I mean,
How do you set odds for that?
it's
like,
literally a coin flip, right?
Who is setting those odds? Like, shouldn't it just be even odds on either side?
Seemingly.
Like, how do you get -102?
I can't think of how you get -102.
I want to know how they set these props. Anyway, also, Patriots win toss, Rams win toss are both at -105. Shouldn't that just be even odds?
Again, yeah,
Like,
probably.
these are so stupid. Anyway, one thing I want to start this off with, because I do want to talk like a little bit of game preview and a little bit of X's and O's, is one thing that shocked me is the Rams opened. This was immediately after the AFC Championship. The Rams opened as 1-point favorites.
Right.
Within 12 hours, that number came in at Patriots -2.5.
Man, I hope the people who locked that one bet in early.
That's like the Rams came in at -1, and every sharp bettor in the world was
Hammered
like,
the Patriots.
"You're telling me I can get the Patriots at plus money on the money line?
Basically the money line.
You're telling me I can get the Patriots +1 in a Super Bowl? Like, are you fucking kidding me?"
If I would have seen that bet, I'd have locked it in pretty
And
damn quick.
I saw it, and I was like, all right, I got to go bet this. And then I was like, I'll wait till morning and see what happens. I waited till morning. I woke up literally 8 a.m., opened my phone, went to the website, -2.5 for the Patriots. And I was like,
Still pretty good. Like, the Patriots just got to cover with a field goal.
and this is where I want to lead people. If you're gambling on the Super Bowl and you want to bet the Patriots, bet them right now. Bet them -2.
Don't wait.
You will not get a better number than -2.5. Bovada's already at -3. There are some books that are already at -3. Might go to -3.5. Most consensus has them at -2.5. That's the number you want if you're betting the Patriots.
Right. I mean, I'm more of, I like to bet the numbers. I don't want to bet teams because you never know what can happen. Like, if I'm giving advice to people that are gambling, bet the overs, bet the unders, bet those kind of things.
Yep.
Don't always bet on, unless you just really think a team's going to win, because then a team wins and then you get a bad beat and you're screwed. Just bet a money line if you really think the team's going to win. But I don't know. There's so many fun bets. Like, you don't have to even love football to bet the Super Bowl. You can bet a million different things. So whatever you want to do, there's a bet for you. Like, that's basically what we're trying to tell you, is you can bet essentially anything in this game.
Well, and so the other way I wanted to go with it was the Rams being -2.5. If you love the Rams, or +2.5 rather, if you love the Rams in this game, don't bet them right now, because I feel like that number's going to go to +3. Wait for that number to
point, man.
Like,
That
it's
half a point.
It's the 3 is the key number in football too.
Every time.
Wait for that number to go to 3. If you want to bet the Rams, wait for that number to go +3. Otherwise, and here's the other thing, is like, if you start looking at these props, like the first quarter props, where you have the Patriots win by 1 to 6 points, the Patriots win by 7 or more, or however, Patriots race to 6 points, whatever it might be. The Patriots have scored a combined 3 points in the first quarter of their past 2 Super Bowls. Like, I have a feeling both of these teams are starting off conservative.
I mean, Patriots are -115 for team to score first.
Well, and they should be, because I have a feeling they might come out and just, like, the way that they
You
did
don't
against
think
the
they're going to
Chargers.
say we want the ball again?
Oh, I bet you they will. But the way that they came out against the Chargers and they won the coin toss, we want the ball.
Yeah.
And they just ran an 8-minute drive down the Chargers' throat. And then the way that they came out
Chargers
against the Chiefs.
defense is different than the Rams defense.
Well, yeah, but the Chargers defense might be better on paper.
they don't have Aaron Donald.
True, but is Aaron Donald doing a lot to stop the rush? Because that's where the Patriots are
Seemingly
killing
Aaron
it.
Donald's doing a lot to do everything.
So then you look at the Chiefs game where the Chiefs won the toss and they deferred, and the Patriots were like, all right, fuck it, we'll take the ball. And they ran it down their throat for 8.5 minutes. It might be similar.
Demoralizing.
Because the way the Rams defense on the rushing side of the football has been all year, it's not been good. It has not been pretty at all.
No.
the Patriots might take the ball and run 8 points and just have 7 at the start of the game. But again, how conservative they've been in all of their Super Bowls, where they were like I look at the first quarter of Patriots-Falcons, ended 0-0.
You don't get down 28-3 going for big play. Like, they were being conservative. They were doing things to get them down 28-3.
Yeah, the first quarter last year, I think, ended 7-3, Eagles. Yeah. And, like, so the Patriots aren't typically going out and scoring a ton of points in the first quarter of Super Bowls. So if you're looking at props like that, too, be careful on the, like, Patriots race to 12 points in the first quarter of the Super Bowl. Because, like, honestly, 12 points isn't happening. Like, 9 points probably isn't happening.
12's a lot.
12 is a lot.
12's a lot.
Yeah, especially for how conservative they play. Like, 6 points, I'll give it to you. But even the Patriots, like, I'm looking at odds. Patriots race to 6 points plus 125. And I feel like that's where it should be. Because, again, I don't know that they come out of the first quarter with more than 0 points.
I got to think they at least get 3. Like, at the very least. Or they're driving when the first quarter ends. Like, that could happen, too. So,
Definitely.
You never know.
And it feels like first quarters, especially in Patriots Super Bowls, fly by because both teams play kind of conservative. And both, like, I remember last year, the first quarter was over in what felt like 20 minutes.
Seemingly, yeah.
And, like, even Patriots-Falcons, the first quarter was over, like, in a flash. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's 0-0.
I can't remember so much of that Super Bowl until it was like 28-3. And then it just clicked.
It feels like that.
Okay.
I remember the pick six. And so then the other prop I really love on this game, and if you're a better, like, I looked at a couple different books and I found the numbers that just are absolutely to die for, is Tom Brady's passing yards. You can find him at MyBookie. Tom Brady's passing yards over under at 311.5. Take the over at minus 115 or minus 105, I think. Or you can get at 5 dimes, you can get 290.5. And so I look at those two numbers with a 21-yard difference, and I go, if you love Brady in this game, like, you don't think he's going to struggle at all, take the over on the smaller number. If you think Brady is going to struggle, take the under on the higher number. Or if you really want to strike gold, take the middle and hope that he finds somewhere in the middle of the 21 yards.
Right. I mean, what was it, 315?
311.5.
311.5, so yeah, seemingly 315. I'll probably take the over on the 315.
What'd you say?
I'll probably take the over on the 315.
Like, that's where I look at it and I'm like, I got to pull up his stats in past Super Bowls because I feel like he's always going way over. And then there was another one that was Brady passing attempts, like over under 36. And I'm like, he threw 62 in Super Bowl 51.
Yeah.
Like, last year, I think he threw 50-something. I'm like, over 36, that's got to be no-brainer.
I mean, he threw 46 2 weeks ago.
Right. And it felt like he threw a ton against the Chargers, too. Like, I think he's consistently been over on that number.
I mean, how many swing passes does he throw per game? Like, even, like, those count, like, yeah, like, of course, 36.
Like, you would have to figure he's going way over 36.
Hammer the over. Like, 36?
And last year, he threw 505 yards. 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, it was 450-something. Like, 2014, I got to pull it up.
It's got to be like an Aaron Donald influence number, as they think they're not going to throw it as much because he's going to be in the backfield all day.
And it might also be like this has been his season where he's only gone over 300 yards 2 or 3 times.
Also true.
But in the playoffs, I think he's gone over 300 both games.
348 on 46 pass attempts 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and I know through 2 picks, but still.
And that's what was it against the Chargers? I think he was over 300 in that game too. So you go, why are we thinking Brady's only going to do 311? 311 feels like too easy of a number.
Yeah.
But you're right on the Aaron Donald thing, and that's another thing I wanted to touch on. Is Aaron Donald the best player that we're going to watch play football on Sunday?
Possibly. Brady had 44 pass attempts against the Chargers.
And how many?
34, 44 for 343.
There you go. So he's throwing for 340 yards in 2 playoff games against 2 teams that people said he was going to hit the under on. And it's like, why the number at 311 just feels so easy. And then the fact that there's an option to get him at 290.5 in a Super Bowl. Are you kidding me?
I mean, James White had 15 catches in that game. Like, if there's a chance that those swing passes are hitting, they'll just keep going. That'll be their running. Like, it turns into them running the ball. It's just swing passes. So, yeah. The Aaron Donald question's interesting because, like, I think he can have as big an impact as anybody in this game. I don't know if he's the best player on the field. He probably is. Like somebody who knows football or defensive line better than me could answer that. But he'll be in the backfield. Like there's no way they're going to block him, right? Like you could send double teams at him. He still goes right through him. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So he can take away, like if he can hold the middle down and let those guys on the boundary. I don't even know who the linebackers are for the Rams anymore.
It feels like it's just a revolving door of guys.
I have no idea, but they're going to be huge, like trying to
and
take away the
be
flat and take away those short routes that they love so much. But
the other thing is, this is like the best Patriots offensive line I think I've ever seen.
Also, probably
like especially the interior line, and especially in pass protection. Like Brady hasn't been sacked all playoffs.
Is that true? Not once.
Not one time.
Jeez.
Like and against the Chiefs, I don't even think he was touched. Like he posted a picture on Instagram of his game jersey. There wasn't a single grass stain.
I recall like the one time Tom Ali grabbed it, or not Tom Ali, Jesus.
What year is it?
Holy cow.
Shit.
Somebody grabbed him, and he got away and made a throw. Edelman had that drop, and then it was 3rd and 10, and then he caught it.
I think Justin Houston got to him once.
And just touched him, but that was it.
And then, so
Tom Ali, Jesus.
Now, I pulled up the Super Bowl in 2008 against the Giants, because I wanted to see, like with Michael Strahan, with a pass rush that really affected Brady, what his numbers were. 266 yards on 29 completions. Still had 48 attempts. But dude was 29 of 48 for 266 yards, and maybe that's where Vegas is getting this number at like 311, 290.
Those Charger defenses were pretty damn good. I don't know if LA's defense is that good.
Well, that's exactly like the Giants' defenses. One, they had the Godfather in Tom Coughlin, and two, like they had Michael Strahan. There was O.C. Umenyiora. There was Justin Tuck. There was Jason Pierre-Paul. Like these were incredible pass rushes. And like as much as Aaron Donald is a factor, I don't know that the rest of the defense is very much of a factor as far as rushing the passer. And their secondary,
Sue's been playing well.
Blows.
Sue's been playing well though. Sue's
he has shown up for the playoffs, which is surprising because he was a complete non-factor in the regular season.
Trying to get another contract, man.
I don't blame him. That guy wants to be rich, and he doesn't want to come.
Not rich enough.
He doesn't want to come back to Detroit. That's for damn sure.
I don't think we want him.
I never say never.
Melo's in New York tonight, so reunions are possible everywhere.
So, kind of a surprise topic before we jump into the power rank. I haven't talked to you about this yet.
Okay,
but I think people might want to hear what do the Lions have to do to be in this position next year or 2 years from now.
What position?
Being
the Super Bowl?
Being near playing for the Super Bowl. I know it sounds like a joke.
I'm gonna laugh. Like what?
Doesn't it sound like a laugh?
It is a joke. Like what?
Here's the thing. In the past 6 years, 7 teams have gone from worst to the playoffs.
None of them were the Lions.
Well,
it ain't gonna happen. Like I don't. What do you want from me?
That is
it's
so
26
true.
years of pessimism just
so
coming to the surface right now. Like what do you want? It ain't gonna happen. Like I've accepted it.
That is so heartbreakingly
it's just
true.
Like what do you want from me? The best player, like our best players retire early, and then we have another best player who doesn't retire forever because he can never get a playoff win. And it happens to be our kicker, like
or your quarterback.
Well, he's. I have mixed feelings. Like I've always said about Stafford. I remember the 6 quarterbacks before him in like a season and a half, and the people that complain about Matt Stafford, like I remember when Drew Henson, Drew Stanton, Dante Culpepper, and Dan Orlovsky played in a 2-week span. That's 4 of the worst quarterbacks I can mention in a 2-week span for the Lions. That happened.
Like Dan Orlovsky ran out of the back of the end zone.
And Jeff Garcia. So it's not like it really got a whole lot better. Like Matt Stafford is the best quarterback the Lions have ever had, bar none. I'm not saying
that's not a compliment to Matthew Stafford.
I'm not saying he's very good. Like he's okay. He puts up a bunch of yards. He can throw it. He's got as much arm talent as anybody. He makes stupid decisions with the ball, but it ain't gotten better than Matt Stafford ever for us. Like it's just never gotten better than that.
So as a Lions fan, because I'm not, and I know what I would do. Well, I know what I would do though, and it's if draft pick number 8 comes around and Kyler Murray's available.
Ooh, he's just got so much money in Stafford that when you draft a guy like a Kyler Murray, you have to completely change everything to make it fit around him.
Right, but they already started doing that, didn't they? When you hire Darrell Bevell and you hire a guy who runs the shit out of the football, and then you have a quarterback.
I don't want Kyler Murray running the ball, though.
No, but you have a quarterback in Matthew Stafford who has no interest in playing in a running offense and makes $26 million, but you hired a guy who plays exactly the opposite of what Stafford wants to do.
The thing is if you draft Kyler Murray, what does it say to Stafford? And more importantly, how does he react?
Because I don't care.
Well, you do, because that buyout is real. Like,
well, it is.
If he
the
says
cap
you got to get rid of me, that's so much money.
The cap hit is nuts this year.
Yeah.
But the year after, it's like $7 million.
That's why I'm ready to wait. Like,
it's
they
like
got some good quarterbacks the
that.
next year. The
but
next year's going to bring some pretty damn good arms.
That's where if it's me and I'm looking at this team, and it's what I would do, and they'll never do it because they're cowards.
I'll tell you what, if Haskins still there at 8, I'll take it.
Good fucking luck.
Yeah,
he's not getting past the Giants at 6.
Like,
There's no shot.
If he's still there, absolutely. But no, I don't think
unless Dave Gettleman has a stroke and bounces his head off of a line of cocaine right before the 6th pick.
Just calls him and says,
yeah.
Eli's got another 2 years left in this arm.
Who's the owner of the Giants? What's his face? They get on the phone.
It's Mara, right?
Yeah, and they get on the phone and they're Dave, buddy, listen.
We really like Eli.
We love Eli.
He's a great guy.
Eli got us those 2 Super Bowls.
Have you seen his Visa commercials with Saquon Barkley? They're funny, man.
Yeah.
We don't want to lose that.
Eli and Odell Beckham Jr. doing Super Bowl commercials is
great.
the future of our franchise. Unless that happens and Dave Gettleman's hands are tied, or he's drunk or hungover while the draft comes to him, or he accidentally bounces his head off of a Xanax, and there's no way.
Like 5, yeah.
There's no way Haskins goes past the Giants. If he does,
what if he doesn't get there?
That would be interesting.
Or if somebody comes you get a random team like Chicago willing to trade up a pick to get Mr. Trubisky. Is somebody willing to come up and get Haskins? It's got to be, right?
Or if it's Arizona going number 1 and instead of Kyler Murray, they're just fuck it, and they take Dwayne Haskins and then trade Rosen.
I still think they will take a quarterback and trade Rosen. I don't think that Cliff Kingsbury wants any part of Josh Rosen.
It could be, and it sucks because I love Josh Rosen, but
I like the way that he is. People think he's no, I love that about him. I love that he's no, this isn't everything, and no, I'm going to be good, and you can't tell me to be a football player. I'm a person who plays football.
And the other thing that people who don't watch football or see things that happen when they're watching football, and they watch the games and they're like, Josh Rosen stinks. Or they look at his numbers and they're like, Josh Rosen sucks. And I'm like, did you see who he was playing?
Yeah, come on.
He had no protection. His best wide receiver is 100 years old.
I can't believe he's coming back for another year. I was just about to say that for you.
Dude, tell me you saw the Barstool tweet. It was absolutely reprehensible. They put out a tweet and they said Larry Fitzgerald has announced he's returning for his 16th year with the Arizona Cardinals. Is Larry Fitzgerald the best one-team athlete of all time?
You're kidding me.
I spit up my coffee.
He's
dead.
not even a top 5 one-team football player.
He might not be top 10.
In no disrespect, I love Larry Fitzgerald as a player. He's been great. He's a Hall of Famer, and what he does for the community and all that. I don't know too much about it, but I hear good things. He's not even close.
You've got Tom Brady.
What?
You've got Lawrence Taylor. You've got Ray Lewis.
I'll put
Walter
Steve
Payton,
Eiserman in front of him.
Jim
What?
Brown. There's so
Nick
just
Lidstrom.
NFL alone. There's 100.
Even the NFL.
And then NBA, Kobe, Dirk, how many? There's a million. Michael Jordan, not Michael Jordan, obviously, but yeah, how many? It's insane. Magic,
and hockey's full of those. Hockey has so many guys who only played for one team. It was a thing from 1950 to whenever.
Tons.
That hockey players only played for one team.
The one that I thought was funny was people were in the comments saying Derek Jeter, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. All of you just get out.
I mean, he's
so overrated.
I hate Derek Jeter.
So overrated.
As a guy, I love what he did for the game. He was my favorite player when I was a little kid, and then I grew up and realized who he was, and I was like, man, fuck this guy.
He's so overrated. Everybody just thinks he's some elite defender, some elite shortstop because of one highlight play.
Bro.
Dude sucked.
Baseball awards are bullshit.
They're so political.
They're not, oh my God, they're only political. They're only political. Baseball writers in general, they will never vote for somebody they don't like. Ever. It doesn't matter if he's the best player. Look at Barry Bonds, not in the damn Hall of Fame.
Oh, God. Which is such a crime.
Oh, my God.
Because I made it. I'm sure you saw it, but I made a tweet too that got way more traction.
No, I saw you go viral this week. It's a very humble brag here.
Way more traction than I ever thought was going to happen. Somehow it got to like 2,000, 3,000 retweets or something. I was like, what the hell is happening here?
You went small town viral.
But all I said, and I was genuinely asking, and all I said was Tom Brady's put together 2 Hall of Fame careers in one. There
were some good ones in those mentions.
But I was like, he could play the first 10 years and be a Hall of Famer, no question. Or he could play the last 9 years and be a Hall of Famer, no question. There's an argument you could split his career up into 6s, and he would be a Hall of Famer in all 3 segments.
Okay, so I was going to say 6, like 3,
like
yes.
01 to 07, 08 to 14, and then 14 to present.
6-year splits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's an argument.
Yeah.
And it's...
He's definitely better than Matt Stafford.
But I go, find me some other players that you could say the same thing about.
The first thing that came into my head was 8 and 24 Kobe.
Yeah.
And then Jordan.
Kobe I struggled with. Jordan I also struggled with because I think like you can split it in half, directly in half, and I don't know that the first half's there. Or
for Jordan?
Like, well, that's I know it's statistically that what did he average in
like
87?
Ridiculous numbers.
37.
Yeah,
and
like stupid numbers.
But he didn't have any of the titles. And then I'm like, well, if you split it by the three-peats, was the second three-peat long enough? That was my only issue. I'm like, statistically, it's there, but is the duration there? Because also,
you know what's underrated
it gets
about that
soured by
three-peat?
Washington.
It does get. Although he put up numbers in Washington, even as an old man, he scored. Like he could still score. But the thing about the second three-peat that pushes it over the edge for me is the most, maybe not the most, but one of the most underrated teams of all time are those 2 Utah teams. Those 2 teams were phenomenal.
Yeah. And I know you're a big Karl Malone guy.
I love Karl Malone. And Stockton, there's never going to be another John Stockton. But those 2 teams, like those 2 guys deserved a championship, and they didn't get one because Jordan wouldn't let them have it. And that's why those last 3, that's good enough.
There's a lot of guys that Clyde Drexler deserves a ring, and Jordan wouldn't let him have one.
He was the Rockets.
Oh, yeah, true.
But he didn't have to do against Jordan. He had to do against Shaq and Penny.
Yeah. I forgot about the Rockets. Yeah. But he deserved one in Portland, too, and never got one.
No.
Jordan just wouldn't let him. But that's right. There's a lot of guys. But the reason I brought it up was because you said Barry Bonds, who's not even in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Barry Bonds absolutely had 2 Hall of Fame careers.
Yeah, without question.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How many stolen bases did he have in Pittsburgh? Like ridiculous.
There was a stat that somebody threw at me where the first half of his career, his WAR is higher than anyone who's ever played baseball except like Rod Carew and somebody. And I'm like.
He won a Gold Glove. He had to have won a Gold Glove at some point.
A few. And a few MVPs in there.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, there was a point where you literally didn't pitch to him. Like, he'd go out to the plate, you just walk him every time.
He was like Miguel Cabrera before Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah, but even then, like, every time.
And even Miguel Cabrera wasn't close to what Barry Bonds was.
They didn't walk Cabrera nearly as... Like, they walk Cabrera a lot, but, like, it was Bonds, like, they just flat out would not pitch to him.
The one poison against Barry Bonds is, like... Uh-oh, hold on. All right, technical problems are solved. We struggled.
It's probably better we got off the rails talking about baseball.
We did, for some reason. All right, so do you have any other cool prop bets?
The only ones are the dumb ones. What color Gatorade they're going to dump, the stupid stuff like that.
What are the odds on that? Oh, yeah, I got it. Orange plus 400, yellow plus 300.
I always feel like it's yellow.
Clear is the favorite, plus 250.
What is that, water? Is clear just water?
Clear Gator. Yeah, what the fuck?
What is clear?
Is that like white Gatorade?
It must be white. It must be like the frost.
This isn't like the cherry frost.
Yeah,
cherry
it's
Gatorade
like white
that's
cherry. White. Yeah, that's what it is. That's dumb.
That's got to be clear.
Who has that? Like,
I've never in my life bet on Gatorade color.
Who gets to pick Gatorade for the team? Like, did the captains be like, no, we want the purple stuff?
Dude, I don't know. I have no idea. And imagine.
I'm very interested to learn.
Imagine betting on it because it just feels like you're lighting your money on fire.
Yeah, I mean that's a throwaway. That's a complete and utter throwaway.
Like the only way I would do that is purple plus 1,000. All right, you're giving me 10-1 odds. I'll throw a buck on purple.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever. Make a quick 10.
Don't bet like real actual amounts of money on it, but you want to throw like $5 on something with crazy odds, sure.
Then again, I've never in my life seen purple Gatorade.
You serious?
Not in the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
Obviously, I've seen possible? Obviously, I've seen purple Gatorade. But like, tell me a time in the NFL where you've seen someone dump purple Gatorade.
I can't recall.
I don't think it's ever
I can't
happened.
recall. Yeah.
It's like red Gatorade. Why do they have red Gatorade?
I have never once voluntarily bought a red Gatorade.
Like, if you get smoked in a football game and then you're on the sideline puking and you've had a lot of red Gatorade.
Oh, it's the worst.
That's an issue.
The only time I ever puke from too much Gatorade or some shit like that is if it's red. Like, that's the only time I can ever recall doing it.
I had a really bad hangover once, and I had, like, in the middle of the night, I woke up and I was like, this is going to be a bad hangover. So I went and grabbed a Gatorade out of the cooler. I was camping, and I went and grabbed a Gatorade out of a cooler, and it was red. And I woke up the next morning and threw up a lot, and it was all red. And I was really terrified because I didn't remember getting a red Gatorade the night before.
It's a classic play when you're like half asleep. It's 4 o'clock. You wake up. You're like, oh, tomorrow's gonna suck if I don't get some fluid in me.
Fuck yeah, electrolytes.
Let's go upstairs and just absolutely down something.
Like I've done it too, where it's like a glass of milk, just something random. Where I'm like, I just need something, and I just down a glass of milk, and then I wake up in the morning. I'm like, that was a fucking mistake.
Get the Pedialyte out.
Yep,
that's what you got to do.
All right, NBA power ranks.
Yay.
Back to basketball.
Whew. I'm home.
You got to struggle through everything.
I feel good. I'm not shaking.
So how do we want to do this? 5-1 or 1-5?
Let's go 5-1. I think 5-1's good.
You can tee us off this time.
Okay. I got some honorable mentions that didn't make the cut. I want so badly to put them in. I'm a week away. They're a week away. One more good week and they're in, and that's Utah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say San Antonio, but they had a rough couple weeks too.
Yeah. They're 11-3 in January. Utah is.
I know. They've been playing really good basketball.
And if they make a deal, like, I don't know how a deal works for them.
They've been favored in like every game too.
I love their defense. Like, they just play such good defense. They help. Everyone just helps. Like, they're like the Warriors on defense. They're just so unselfish, but on defense. Like, everybody just helps. And Joe Ingles,
they're playing good ball.
I want a Lakers-Jazz playoff series so badly for Joe Ingles to be the one who gets to get it. Like, you think Lance Stevenson got under his skin, blowing in his ear? Like, Joe Ingles will bother LeBron James so much. And it's a person who should never be able to bother LeBron James, but he will bother him. All right. Other ones, Houston fell out. They're an honorable mention. Philly, I wanted to put them in, but the loss to Denver plus their health, Embiid and Butler are both shaky right now. I'm not putting them in. And I can't believe I left the team on a 6-game win streak until tonight out, but Milwaukee's not in for me.
Oof.
That 6-game win streak's a little deceiving. It's Atlanta, Miami at home, Memphis, Orlando, Dallas at home, and Charlotte at home. They lost to OKC tonight, and they didn't look good, so I left them out. My 5 is Toronto. I have Toronto at 5.
Okay.
2 tough losses this week. Indiana by 4 with no Kawhi. Houston by 2. They're both of them on the road. The Houston loss was worse than 2 points, but they made it weird at the end. 6 of their 9 games in February are at home, and 2 of the 3 on the road are against Atlanta and the Knicks. So
that's huge.
I think they're going to climb back up.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that's good. They're going to have a good month of February. I agree. I left Toronto off again, second week in a row, and it's no disrespect to them, but it's 2-game losing streak.
It's fair.
There's times they haven't looked great.
I dropped him to 5 because of it,
and I have Milwaukee at 5, and I did drop him, and the reason I dropped him was the loss to OKC today. I'll be honest, I napped through like the third and fourth quarter of that game. But what I saw early was not great.
It was putrid early, but they fought back in the late in the third quarter, and then early in the fourth, Chris Middleton hit a couple of shots.
Well, and the one thing I saw especially was OKC, really good defensive team, by the way.
Yeah. Really good defense.
Doing a lot of what Boston did a year ago and forcing Giannis to take shots he doesn't want to take.
And on top of that, like, they found the remedy. Jeremy Grant is apparently the Giannis stopper. 5 block shots on Giannis.
And it's always some random guy. Boston did it with Shemi Ojeleye.
Yeah, it's a long, athletic dude who can. It's just find your best athlete, put him with Giannis.
Yep.
Like, that's all it is. And Giannis, 7 shots blocked today. Not 7 blocked shots, 7 shots blocked. Most in his career he's ever had,
which is wild. But OKC was active on the glass early.
Yeah. I mean, all those things are correct. I did write that if they beat OKC, I reserve the right to switch them with Toronto and put them at 5, but they lost, so I have Toronto at 5.
And that's I had them like 2 or 3, and then they lost to OKC, and I already had OKC climbing, so I had to drop them.
Fair enough. I got 4. It is Denver. A tough loss on the road to Utah, but they smacked Phoenix without Jokic after he got suspended, because that's the dumbest rule in the history of sports. And then they beat Philly up by home. I know they weren't with there. They had no Butler, no Embiid, but they still beat Philly up. And it's 126 points on a good team. I get that they didn't have anybody, but I like Denver. I like the way they move it. They're getting healthy again. I have them at 4.
At 4, I actually have Oklahoma City. I've loved the 5-game winning streak.
Oh, you're gonna. I still have OKC to say. Like,
I'm sure you do, and I know, and we probably haven't, but. 5-game win streak. Russell Westbrook, as bad as he has looked sometimes, is still having a really good season.
Yeah,
and it's a season that's like odd because he's averaging the triple double, but nobody gives a shit about that anymore.
It's a shitty triple double,
and it is a shitty because it's like
it's
especially
not a shitty triple-double. It's just his percentages and the splits and the way he goes about doing it are just terribly inefficient and ugly to watch.
And the way that you watch him, like, of course he's averaging a triple-double. He's racing to stop the ball from going out of bounds. Like, that's how he's getting rebounds.
It's amazing that a triple-double, like, averaging a triple-double is not indicative of someone playing well. That doesn't make any sense, but it's true.
He's been historically bad shooting.
Literally historically
the
bad.
worst
Literally the
shooter
worst
ever.
ever.
Like, it would be Kevin Love if Kevin Love had played more than 7 minutes this season.
Yeah.
Instead, it's Russell Westbrook
Yeah.
because that's literally how bad his shooting is.
It's the worst percentage of any volume shooter in the history of the NBA.
It's awful. And yet, he's
Even at
playing,
the free throw line, he's like less than 65%.
It's been really bad. And it's weird because his MVP season, didn't he shoot like 90 from the free throw line? Or
I don't know if it was 90. It was above 80, yeah.
And that's...
I watching that game tonight, I'm just thinking, why doesn't he go to the basket? He had 2 foul shots the whole game. They both came on an intentional foul at the end, and he missed one of them.
He looks like
just
a
doesn't get to the
shadow.
line.
He looks like a shadow of who he was when he won MVP. But with all that said, he's playing the best defense he's ever played. He's passing maybe better than he's ever passed. And it feels like his inside game has really developed beyond, I'm going to throw this down in your fucking face in transition.
I don't know if it's going to happen this year. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year. I'm not saying it's going to happen ever. But the moment that he accepts that he's the second best player on his team, whoa.
And it feels like he's getting there because Paul George has clearly surpassed him.
I'm going to get to Paul George when I talk OKC.
The way that Paul George is playing this, like, I wanted to put him higher than 4. 4 is just where they landed for me. The way that Paul George is playing this year, nobody's saying enough about.
He had a sequence tonight in the fourth quarter that was a made 3. He had 5 straight. One was a dunk on Giannis. The other one was a made 3. And in between, he got a steal that turned it over, got Jeremy Grant. No, he didn't make that. It was just a 2-shot foul, but he almost had an and one.
And that's even like the game when they lost it to San Antonio in overtime, or double overtime, whatever it was, game of the year, arguably. And it was like the fourth quarter, I think, where Paul George got a steal and came down the floor and had an assist, I think, to force the overtime. Like, the way he's playing, where he's pretty much no doubt DPOY at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I pencil him in, but not quite in ink, but pencil him in, sure.
Absolute first-team all-defense.
Without doubt.
Probably first-team all-NBA. Like, he might be the guy to force LeBron off.
No. I don't even... I think LeBron's not going to make it, but I don't think he's going to be first-team all... I think LeBron and him are the second-team all-NBA forwards.
Who do you got first-team, then?
Giannis and KD.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's the thing, too, is like, as much as I want to say Paul George is never going to get the media love that KD will get in Golden State.
No.
And
it's not even the media. I mean, Kevin Durant's 50, 40, 90. He's averaging 28 a game. Like, I know we just overlook it, but
he's dropping
amazing.
like last night against the Celtics, he had 33, and I'm watching this game, and I'm like, KD has 33 points?
He just goes about it.
I didn't even know he was in the game.
It's really fun when you're a 7'2" guard who can handle the ball and shoot like that.
He's the biggest guy in his lineup, even when they have Boogie on the floor, and he's at the 3. Like, it's... Anyway, so that's my 4 is Oklahoma City.
Okay. I have your squad at 3. I have Boston. 5 in a row before that loss to Golden State. That lost only by 4. If they get anything out of Gordon Hayward in that game, it's a little bit different.
Oh, God.
I know I said last week Gordon Hayward's turning a corner, and I think he turned around.
Yeah, no, he turned that corner, and he saw whatever he
turned
saw.
left again.
And he was like,
right back.
No, fuck that. I don't think I want to do that.
He could be, like, if he's said, like I heard Jackie Mack say, if he's 75% of himself in the playoffs, then that's a huge pickup for them because he hasn't been 75% of himself all year.
But it's weird because there's nights that he's been 100% of himself. And then
when
there's
he's had
nights,
like 35 on 14 and 18
and then
night
there's
or whatever
nights
it was.
where he's 0% of himself.
Yeah, it's got to be mental, but I think still part of it is like he's still got to play his way back into it. And I don't know. I'm sure mentally something gets messed up when he goes to the bench,
part of
too.
it that nobody says enough about is the Celtics are basically an entirely new team from who they were last year, even though they have all the same players. Kyrie and Gordon Hayward hadn't played together at all. Gordon Hayward hadn't played with any of these guys.
Gordon Hayward does not aggressively try to score the ball anytime he's on the floor with Kyrie.
And that's part of the issue with his play this year is not only is he coming back from an injury, he's also trying to adjust to a role that he's never had in his life. And so those two things together are going to be a struggle.
Yeah, he's never he was I know it seems like Utah was this great everybody's equal, and I was like, no, he was the guy in Utah.
Yeah.
Like, he was absolutely the guy.
The man.
Like, I know that Joe Johnson got the ball down the stretch in that Clippers series however many years ago it was, but Gordon Hayward was the guy. Like, he was the all-star. It was his team, no doubt about it. He might look at Al Horford and think, shit, I'm third.
That's really, and again, that's another guy that nobody's going to say enough about. But what Al Horford did in that game
too.
So my 3 is actually Denver, who you had at 4, I think, right?
Yep.
So Denver's my 3, and again, it's just the way they've weathered injuries. It's the way that they're
impressive.
Managing to stay at the top of the West. And it was a team where I kept putting them at 5 or even out. Because despite the fact they were number 1 in the West, I'm like, this is not sustainable. There's no way that we're going to get to late January and they're still going to be 1 in the West. Well, here we are. It's late January. They're a game out of Golden State.
Gary Harris athletically is back. He's still shaking the rust off, but athletically he's back. He had a couple big-time dunks.
He keeps making strides in his game that I didn't know he was going to make. Because coming out of Michigan State, I got to be honest, I thought he'd be good. I never thought he'd be this good.
I thought he'd be a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah, I never thought he'd be this good.
And he went like 19th or 17th or something overall, so not a lot of people expect him to be anything other than.
And then he was a total bust for a couple years, and out of nowhere, it's like
he got that contract and he's living up to
Gary
it.
Harris is playing good basketball. Like last year, I remember it was probably December.
He got a Kawhi comp from Mark Jackson in a game last year. I remember that.
And it was probably like late
like
December.
He's 6'4".
And I watched a Jazz game, and I was like, or I watched a Nuggets game, and I'm like, is that Gary Harris? And then I'd see, and they're like, Gary Harris, and they pull up his stats, and I'm like, holy shit, where has this guy been?
Shooting, everything. Doing it all.
He is outstanding. And not to mention,
they do throw it to him and tell him to go get a bucket sometime. He puts it on the floor and scores. Like, he can get his own shot. Not great, but he can do it.
And the fact that they're slowly bringing Isaiah Thomas back says to me, Isaiah Thomas might be like, when he comes back, he might actually be fully healthy for the first time in 3 years.
I mean, like, I feel like I haven't seen Isaiah Thomas really be Isaiah Thomas since, like,
Boston.
Even before the playoffs in Boston. Like, in the playoffs, he obviously dealing with the hip and dealing with the death of his sister.
And they got destroyed by LeBron. But even after the death of his sister, which tragic, he dropped 55 in Washington.
Oh, yeah.
But we haven't seen Isaiah really since then. And that's, if they get 75 to 80% of what that IT4 was, they're an absolute threat.
In 24 minutes off the bench, spelling Murray. Because Murray shows these
absolute
flashes
threat.
where I'm like, this guy's amazing. And then there's times where I'm like, oh my God, Jamal Murray's been on the floor for 5 minutes and I didn't even notice. Like, he's just, that's the last hurdle to climb for Jamal Murray, is to just step up and do it every night.
And that's Jamal Murray, with what you just said, where you notice there's times where he's on the floor and you're like, oh my God, get him off the floor. And there's times when he's on the floor and you're like, holy shit, this guy's really good.
Did you read the Jackie Mack piece on him, the profile? Didn't. It's really good. It's a lot about his dad.
I saw a link to it. I haven't read it yet.
It's good.
I heard good things. Speaking of which, there was the profile piece on the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, God.
That was the best thing ever.
What a perfect week for that to drop.
So my number 2 team is my squad, Boston Celtics.
Okay.
And it might be high. This might sound hot takey, but
I had him at 3.
What I saw last night between Golden State and Boston, I know the Celtics lost, but to me, despite the fact that Gordon Hayward was a shell of himself, despite the fact that Marcus Morris played maybe his worst game of the season, Kyrie played really bad in the fourth quarter, those were the 2 best teams in basketball.
They weathered every storm.
Yeah.
Like, every punch had a counter punch, which it doesn't happen a lot when you're playing the Warriors.
Playing Golden State, because Golden State's body punches are other teams' knockouts.
Steph in that second quarter, I was like, oh, well, this is over.
Oh, when he hit, 5 threes in the second quarter?
4 in a row at one point,
and then he launched one, and before it was halfway to the rim, he was shimmying.
That was a hump. Dude, that was not a shimmy. That was a full
special.
hip thrust.
And that was that was where I was watching the game. And I'm like, oh, we got lethal Golden State tonight. This isn't good. I
tweeted, when Breen is calling a game when Steph is hot like this, it's Nirvana, because nobody calls a made basket like Mike Breen.
That's where I'm like watching this game though, and I get to the fourth quarter, and I'm like, especially the way the Celtics played in the third, like the last 5.5 minutes of the third quarter was abysmal, and I'm like, to only be down 6 points after that is a miracle. And then, again, weathering the punch. And then you get into the fourth, and you lose a game by 4 points when you gave up 34 free throws to Golden State in a game where Kyrie pressed like a motherfucker. He really forced in the fourth quarter.
Down the stretch. He made a couple of good plays at the layup by Iguodala after I was like, how the hell does he do that? It just reminded me of the conference finals back in 16 when it's just like he went off over and over and over
again. That's when he dribbled into the high post and just put Iggy on skates with dribble moves.
And somehow, like, Iggy's 6'9", probably got a 7'2", 7'3" wingspan-ish. How the hell do you get that ball up?
That was right after that play. One of my buddies texted me, and he's like, Kyrie's a fucking freak,
It's amazing how he does that. Like, it's just unbelievable.
It was, and that's like the joy. That's why I kind of have the Celtics so high. Is even when Kyrie's pressing, he's still just like nirvana to watch. Like he's a gift to basketball. And again, like a Paul George type guy where no one talks about him the way that he should be talked about. But he's incredible.
Poetry in motion.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as far as like offensive guys in the league, it's Steph, Harden.
For guys who can create their own?
Yeah. For yeah, I mean, yeah. Like you want to, but it's like Steph, Harden, Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I probably have like Harden, KD, 1-2, then Steph, then Kyrie.
And then it's like, but that's the air that he plays in when it's the offensive side of the basketball. Yeah. Like there's no one better really than finding their own shot for his size. There's no one better
for his size. He might be the best of all time.
There's
like
no one,
Iverson's 2 inches shorter than him. So I'll still, for the guy who's 6'2", to be able to do what he does and finish the way he does and shoot the way he does. I mean, he's a 40%
his
3-point
handles,
shooter.
His finishing, and that's the last 10 games, dude. He's averaging 27 points, 54, 44, 84.
The handles overshadow the fact that he shoots 44% from deep.
Yeah.
Like he's a great 3-point shooter.
And that's my one gripe with Kyrie is he only attempts 6 threes a night. I wish that number would climb to about 11.
But his game is scoring all over the floor. That's his game. It's not like Steph. Like Steph can score over the floor, and he likes to go to the rim sometimes and make those wild. But Steph wants to launch threes. Kyrie doesn't want to launch.
And he's doing a lot more playmaking because again, last 10 games, 8.4
which is good.
assists.
Like it's good,
absolutely. Yeah. But it's like I look at 6 threes a night and I'm like, if that number's more like 10 or 11, the Celtics are probably winning a lot more games. Yeah.
I mean, well, speaking of point guards who press, my number 2 is OKC.
You got to talk to me about that.
I mean, 4 good wins this week. Like they beat up the Knicks on the road. That's not great, but they beat them up. They beat Portland.
It's a road win in the
NBA. Yeah, they beat New Orleans and Portland. And they beat Milwaukee tonight. They're playing great defense. Like I said, blocked 7 of Giannis's shots. That Paul George run, just every time you watch Paul George in a big moment, you're like, this dude is doing stuff that I never thought Paul George was going to do.
Yep.
And I love him. I fall in love with him every time I watch him. Steven Adams, the most underrated center in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Like
we're getting to that point with Paul George. Remember a few years ago when he was in Indiana and people were like, this guy's like LeBron. This guy's like Kevin Durant.
In those playoff series in Indiana.
We're getting to the point now where he really is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's right there.
Like he and
I said like second team All NBA, no doubt, but any other year, other year, what do you want me to say?
What he's done is just unbelievable. That's where
phenomenal.
I mean, and it's unfair to him that Giannis is going to be considered a forward because he plays like a 5, but it is just what he's done is so incredible, and no one talks about it enough. But we're at the point where it's like,
and they're
dude, you're
guys.
right there with KD, and you're right there with LeBron. You really are who we thought you might be.
And the big thing with OKC at the beginning of the year is like, oh, who's going to shoot? You need to give credit, not you. Everybody needs to give credit to their role guy. Like Ferguson has shot the ball very well for them. Abrinas has shot it well. Abdel Nader is playing well. Like they get good contribute. Jeremy Grant, are you kidding me? He's been the perfect small ball 4 for them.
The fact that Abdel Nader is playing well is also pissing me off. But and then here's the other thing, and this is again where I would like to see Kyrie do things. Paul George is taking 9 threes a night.
Yeah, they move it up and down a little bit quicker than the Celtics.
They do, and they're also way worse at shooting.
Also
so
true.
They have to rely. They have to rely on Paul George to shoot more. But that's where I would like to see Kyrie go. Our number 1. There's no way it's going to be any different.
What are you even talking about?
Like the way Boogie,
it was the perfect illustration of a week for them.
The way Boogie played against Boston, where it was like, has he even been on the floor? And he was still impacting the game. Like it felt
great.
Like
he's been great.
It felt like he was no impact, but he had so much effect.
Like people are looking at him and be like, oh, let's not say too early he's been so great. Like DeMarcus Cousins is a 25 and 12 a night guy. He's only scoring like 15 points. He's 270 pounds. He just came back from a year off at an Achilles.
It was Jeff Van Gundy.
His splits are insane.
It was Jeff Van Gundy during the broadcast that's like, can we stop?
Yeah,
can we
that's
please
what I'm
relax?
talking about.
And I'm like,
what do you mean relax? This is amazing. Like
Mike Breen's going to murder Jeff Van Gundy one day. Like it's going to happen.
But like they're weak. Thompson goes for 44 in the first game of the week. Then Steph goes for 38 in the next game. And then KD goes for 33 in the next game.
Really,
and Steph has 24 and Klay has 21.
Really the whole time KD was going for 30 and nobody was saying anything.
It's just easy for them. Somebody will score 40. It's cool. We'll figure it out.
They're playing a different game.
And Draymond has been amazing as a rebounder and break starter. He does so much for them. And in help defense, nobody wants to give Draymond credit. And I get all of the bad things that go along with Draymond Green. But, oh my God, when he plays like this, they're unbeatable.
He got lucky. Marcus Smart read that free throw wrong, though.
Oh, God, yeah, he did. Oh,
he got
God,
lucky.
he got bailed out bad.
Yeah, he got very lucky.
You missed
Marcus
those two
Smart
free throws,
that.
and Kyrie walks down and buries him. Oh, my goodness.
One thing I wanted to say about Golden State, too, and I hope that you agree, we could only be so blessed as to get a Golden State Boston Finals if all 7 games are going to be as good as that.
I would be okay with a Toronto final. I would, because I would love to see Kawhi play against those guys and just see who gets the one-on-one matchup with Kawhi every night, but I'd much rather see Boston.
And
those are the only two I want, though.
I don't know that Toronto could be as competitive against them as
Boston
Boston
could
either.
I don't think they could, but I think Kawhi Leonard is the most complete player in the Eastern Conference, and I wouldn't mind seeing him go up against those guys.
The one thing I saw that gave me hope, even though the Celtics lost, and you almost have to do homework for it. And anybody that loves basketball as much as we do, you go back and try to watch this, was when the Celtics forced a shot clock violation in the third quarter. And you watch the play develop. There's Golden State's unguardable double pick and roll.
It's so hard to guard. It is really hard to guard.
With the flare screen to Steph Curry.
The way he relocates. I've said it like 5 times on this podcast. But
that double pick and roll, it's impossible to guard. The Celtics forced a shot clock violation on that play because
Brad Stevens looked at that one all week.
Oh, yeah. They switched everybody, and then they had Boogie rotate down off the pick and roll, and Horford came and snuffed him out right in the low post.
They are the team that athletically can do it. Like Toronto a little bit, but they are the team that can switch with them. Milwaukee seems like they should, but they can't.
They're also the only team in the league that could bring Steph Curry out of the game. Like, they forced Steve Kerr to pull Steph Curry with 8 seconds left because they needed everyone to be able to switch. Yeah. They could not risk Steph getting switched onto a Kyrie.
He would have put him back in.
Right. But that's like on a defensive possession, bringing Steph out. Like, that's the only team that could force him to do that.
They never brought him out against Houston.
They probably wouldn't bring him out against Toronto.
Him and Chris Paul go at it. They never brought him out.
And that's where, but against Kyrie, we're bringing you out, Steph.
No. Kyrie loves to play against that guy.
Dude, absolutely loves it. And that's where I look at this again, and I kind of put it out on Twitter last night, was everybody got really upset with the loss, and everybody's like, this Celtics team, this can't be it. And I'm like, you guys are way too results-oriented, because what I just saw was a very winnable game against the Monstars, where we gave up 34 free throws, and we were...
If you think they're the Monstars now, just wait.
Well, yeah. But I'm like, we were an under-control Kyrie away from winning that game.
Here's my thing, too. Moral victories be damned, but it was a hell of a moral victory. Everything I'm hearing out of Boston is they're not making a move at the deadline. They're sitting pat. Nothing's going to happen.
Yep.
Golden State's going to get better at the buyout market. They're going to get people, whether it's Robin Lopez. Well, I heard Trey Burke today, for God's sake.
Jesus Christ.
Whoever the hell it is, they're going to get somebody to help them a little bit. And you think they're the Monstars now. Wait till Boogie's in shape in late May.
Yeah.
Wait till they get another guy, too.
That's where I think the Celtics trade deadline move is really just let's stand pat and fingers crossed that Gordon Hayward comes back. Because if you get to May and Gordon Hayward is 85 to 90% of what Gordon Hayward used to be, we're talking about a fucking showdown.
I saw something, I can't remember if it was a tweet or a blog or something on Reddit that said there's a 40% chance Anthony Davis has played his last game in New Orleans. And I was like, okay. Let's pump.
Didn't
the
Anthony
brakes.
Davis just come out and say he doesn't want to be traded midseason?
Yeah, but that's the thing is it was more geared to, has New Orleans reached its breaking point? Are they willing to make a trade that if Anthony Davis bails on them and they make this trade and give up assets, they're then screwed? Unless for what they get back from Davis, or do you sit pat with what you got and just trade Davis and add to that and be like, this is an okay team, depending on what you get.
Bad news for me is he can't come to Boston with Kyrie.
That's the issue.
So, one last thing, Pistons related. Did you see the rumors? Blake Griffin to Dallas, Andre Drummond to Charlotte, Dennis Smith Jr., Nick Batum, and Malik Monk to Detroit with picks.
It better be a lot of picks.
I know I'm not against swearing on this, but what I would do is too graphic. I don't even want to. I would be beyond ecstatic.
It better be both. I mean, first of all, it can't be Dallas's first round pick because they don't have it. They gave it to Atlanta. So, no, that's bad already. It better be at least 2 first-round picks. If you're giving up Andre and Blake, I want a hell of a lot more than Dennis Smith Jr., who's good. Torched the Pistons the other night. It was great. Malik Monk, who is the definition of inconsistent, and Nick Batum, who's the definition of vastly overpaid.
Well, but he's on his contract could be up. What is it? 2 years?
Yeah, there's no way he's opting out.
But I'd rather sit on his.
Million.
I would
don't
rather
want
sit
Nick
on
Batum.
his than sit on Blake and Andres to go nowhere.
You got to get a big back in that.
If
deal
there's
too.
a chance that,
are you just going completely in the tank? Is that
yeah, that's where I would say that this is going.
You're going
this is the
completely
Pistons
in the
being
tank.
honest and going, look, we're going to blow.
I think you don't go completely in the tank and trade Blake until the draft. I do see Blake possibly getting moved at the draft, but if you're going to go in the tank, you don't do it at the deadline. You don't decide right now, okay, we're going in the tank. Like, you give it what you got this year, and if you get the 8 seed, you get the 8 seed, and if you don't, you're really bad, and you're like, okay, this is over, and we got to move everybody.
To me, I would do it in a
Still
heartbeat.
move Reggie at the deadline. Still move Reggie Jackson
absolutely.
at the deadline. Please listen to me. Move Reggie Jackson at the deadline. But don't blow it up at a deadline.
I would do it in a heartbeat, honestly.
I can't recall a deadline blow up.
I think Dennis Smith Jr. is such an improvement.
For perimeter players on the Pistons?
Yeah, I think
he's the best one they've had in 5 years.
Malik Monk is like, he could still be a really high ceiling type guy.
He's athletically very gifted. He's a great shooter. He does
needs
not
to
put
be in the
ball
right
on the
type of
floor.
situation.
Yeah. He's
just
it seems like he is. Like, he's playing with the lead guard who's really, really good. He could just step in and be that 2 guard for him. They drafted him to do that.
I think he could develop more than maybe anyone else on that team. And as far as Nick Batum goes, if you're going to get Andre and Blake out of town, you're going to have to take on a Nick Batum. Like, it's just them's
but
the breaks.
You're taking on Nick Batum for what? Like, you're taking him on for Malik Monk in a first? That's enough to take on Nick Batum? Not
DSJ,
really.
maybe if
but
you
you're
get
not,
a
because you're
first,
sending Andre to Charlotte.
2 years first.
And first of all, Charlotte has no
it'd be a
interest.
3-team
I know
deal.
Charlotte desperately needs a center. I don't think it's Andre Drummond.
Well, but apparently they have interest.
I think they'd rather have Marc Gasol.
Who wouldn't? I mean, if you're paying attention, if you're watching the games, who wouldn't?
Marc Gasol, I know he's old. He's still better than Andre Drummond. He might not have as many years left. He might not be he's definitely not the rebounder that he is.
Everybody's better than Andre Drummond.
But yeah, I mean, Marc Gasol can pass the ball. Andre Drummond doesn't do that very well, or at all.
He doesn't shoot well inside 3 feet. He looks lackadaisical. Like, I can't imagine what teams are watching him and going, yeah, I want that guy.
That's the same thing about Reggie. Is like, oh, we're trying to move Reggie Jackson. We're trying to move Reggie Jackson. Watch one Reggie Jackson game. Who the hell? That New Orleans game. I was like, oh, wow, Reggie. Up that trade value, man. Way to go. 17 points. Like, you looked good tonight. And then that post-game interview was like, well, you're never getting traded, like, ever.
Imagine interrupting an interview while your teammate is talking about how bad you are.
He's basically shitting on you, and you walk up.
Like, Blake is
not
throwing
only interrupted
Reggie under
interview,
the breast.
Not
under
only
the
interrupted interview, strike a pose. Strike a pose in front
and
of the
then
camera.
Go, my bad, man.
Not like he came over, put a towel on his head. It was like, yeah, no, he struck a pose in front of the camera. He slipped in between Mickey York and Blake and struck a pose in front of the camera.
Like, there are a few guys that I hate in this town, but I hate Reggie Jackson.
Do you want me to go off on like the tangent right now? I think I've done this already on this show about him not taking off Chauncey's number and what that means to me. Like,
I can't do that either.
A direct slap in the face from not, like, it makes me hate Tom Gores. If I own this team, and I just, like, I'm the guy who retired Chauncey Billups. He retired the number. He was the owner when they retired his number.
But he also said the Chauncey family. He doesn't know.
Fair. But, I mean,
he might not know that Reggie's wearing that number. Like, if we're being honest.
Fair. Even if you're Reggie Jackson, though, like, when they retired Ben Wallace's number, Stanley took it the fuck off. He put 7 on. He stopped wearing 3.
Yeah.
Take number 1 off. It's not yours.
You're not Mo Rivera.
Like just stop. Take it off. Like, it infuriates me. Every night I turn it on and I see it, and I'm like, damn it, every time. Like, he's my favorite Piston of all time. For anybody born after the Bad Boys, he's everybody's favorite Piston.
Yep.
Like, take that number off. You like everyone in Detroit hates you for that.
He's a lot of NBA guys' favorite guy. Like,
he's Mr. Big Shot.
He's Chauncey Billups is the definition of your favorite player's favorite player.
Like, I loved Allen Iverson. He was my favorite player of all time. I loved watching him. He's the reason I fell in love with basketball. But Chauncey Billups was my favorite Piston, and the Pistons are my favorite team.
Yep.
And, like, it infuriates me that someone
bullshit.
wears his number while it's hanging in the rafters. Could you imagine a rookie for the Wings wanting 19?
Or 5?
Like, yeah, like, are you kidding? How is this allowed?
That's like if somebody on the Tigers tried to wear 6.
What if Kerryon Johnson was like, yeah, I want 20? Well, tough shit.
Yeah.
Like,
sorry, buddy.
I just don't get it.
It really is. That's like if the Tigers drafted an outfielder and he's like, I think I want to wear 6.
Yeah, you know,
like,
6 is my number.
Don't think you're wearing 6, friend.
Tough break. You're not getting it.
It's anybody in base want to wear 42? No.
No, well, you can't.
That's like the Patriots get a quarterback. I've been 12 my whole life. Not anymore.
Like, there's people who, like, have you seen anyone in Miami wear 6?
Nope.
No, because they know it's going to get retired one day. What's the point?
We can have a different conversation.
Yeah,
about that,
but still, that's just the first example that popped into my head. Like, why would you even take number 1 if you're Reggie Jackson when you first get here?
Yeah,
like
it's
you know who it is.
Dude, we can have a whole discussion about Reggie Jackson next week.
When you brought up Reggie Jackson, I thought, I'm going to go off and I'm going to run late. Like, damn it. But yeah, I hate Reggie Jackson for so many reasons, but that's a big one.
All right, thanks for listening, folks. We appreciate you every week. Stay warm, stay safe on the roads. It's going to be tragic.
Oh yeah, it's not going to be fun.
No, it's not going to be pretty at all.
Shoveling snow, also be safe doing that because it's going to be very cold.
Very cold. Record lows.
Have a good Super Bowl also.
Yeah, go Patriots.
Sure.